guys, welcome back to another video. This is not under control and it really needs to be. Like, do we really need this many blankets? I don't think so. Today is a very on a whim video, and that is because I'm working with a few different brands right now, and I haven't heard back for a video that was supposed to go up today when you guys are watching this, and I can't post it yet. So we're doing this video, which is actually really good timing for it, because I went on my Instagram and asked you guys whether you were in finals or like slowly entering finals, or if you were completely done. And majority of you said that you were either in them or about to be in them, which is just the best place to be in, you know? This week has just been crazy, honestly, just crazy. I will do a little video about that in the future. Not quite ready to talk about it yet, but I will soon, so stick around for that. So I wanted to share some of my tips and just things that I do to prep for finals or midterms or any sort of exams. So my exams start on April 10th and run until April 17th. So about a week period, and I am slowly getting there. So I have to start studying very soon, and I thought I would kind of share with you guys the process that I take myself through, and hopefully will help you a little bit as well. If you guys are interested in maybe a more detailed or more b-roll type video, let me know. I can kind of do a part 2 of this and give you more details. But today I just wanted to sit down and give you the quick rundown that you could watch and get inspired to study for your finals. Trust me, I've been there, and I will slowly get there as well, where you've worked so hard for the semester and you're just tired and you just want to quit. But listen, you've worked so hard and put in so much time and effort into the semester. You can't just quit, you can't study. I know that sometimes you go in and you're like, you know what? If I fail this, I will still pass the class. And that's a great place to be in, to walk in, and if all you remember is your name, you will still pass the class. But you know, the GPA will suffer, and I don't know, I get really upset when I know I could have studied harder and I didn't, and then I end up getting a lower mark than I could have. I encourage you to maybe take a day or two break from school, and then just get back into it and study for those finals, because it'll be over so soon, and you'll just really kick yourself if you don't put in the time and effort now and then just get to relax and not think about them when they're all over. So something that I do for every single one of my exams is utilize cue cards, and I know that this can be, like, I don't use them in like your typical cue card manner. I don't write like a word and then write a definition on the back. I just write out important notes or notes that I think stick out from lectures. So I will either go through my lecture notes or the PowerPoints themselves from classes, and then I will just write out what I think is important and the big concepts that were discussed in like fairly good detail, but also making sure that I am not going too much into detail, if that makes sense. So I don't want these cue cards to be stacks big, so that it would be a lot difficult to go through them, and I might as well just flip through the PowerPoint. This is kind of like a more condensed version of the PowerPoint, but still packed with good solid information that will likely be on the exam. Something similar to that would be creating something like this also, which is just a rundown of your whole course or whatever you're being tested on. So this is for my psychology class, and there's just a ton of notes from every chapter. And again, just summarize. So this could be your starting point, and then you can go into the cue cards. And then a helpful tool would be to use a mind map. And if you're like me and were forced to do these when you were in middle school, you hate them. I do hate them, but I do think that they could be a very useful tool. You could write out your chapter here and then focus on the 6 or 8 or whatever, however many big topics, I guess, or big concepts within that chapter, and define them. Use a few different abbreviations to help you remember stuff. And this would be amazing to use right before your exam as well as the night before your exam. I know as college kids or even in high school, you are tempted to just cram the night before, and let me tell you that does not work regardless of how much you've convinced yourself that it works. It doesn't. All you're doing is putting excess stress on yourself and trying to condense all of this information into your brain that is just not going to stick at all. Perhaps a little bit, but definitely not as much as you could have retained if you had started studying prior. Do not cram. Don't cram, just don't do it. And I know that sometimes exams are back to back and it's hard to like study for all of them at once, but you just really have to budget out your time and just think logically. So to implement these like few little strategies that I mentioned, it's really useful to start studying a week in advance, or at least the number of chapters plus a day in advance. So if you have 3 chapters to study, at least start studying 4 days prior to your exam so that you could dedicate a day or a night or whatever you have to a chapter, and then kind of summarize everything and tie up any loose knots on the last night and kind of utilize the more summarizing and summary tools versus trying to look over all of the content, which will just be so overwhelming, and I really don't recommend you do it. And like I mentioned, sometimes you do have the exams that are back to back. Like I have 2 exams a day apart from each other, so I have one on the 16th of April and one on the 17th of April, which happens to be Mitchell's birthday, but we will work through it. It's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a week in advance of my first class, as well as, so my first on the 16th is my business law final, so I'm going to start a week in advance and I'm going to start writing out all the notes. It's a very content heavy class, so I'm definitely going to need a lot of time for that one. But because psychology is the following day, I also need to start studying for that in advance. So I'm going to do, again, about a week, and I'm going to do chapter by chapter. I'm going to summarize, make sure I have all the content in my brain, make sure I have all the names, which I struggle with big time. And with psychology, there's a lot of names, so it'll be very useful to take your time with studying versus trying to cram for my business law class on the 15th and then cram for my psych class on the 16th. Not useful unless you're like Superman, which I doubt you are, because I'm not a very good information retainer and I'm not very good at taking tests. So these sort of tools are really helpful for me, and I really hope that they are for you too. And like I said, you don't need to spend an entire day on a chapter. Set aside an hour or 2 hours at the end of your night or in the morning, or however your schedule works, and just focus and work through it. Obviously, if you're kind of budgeting out more time, like more than 2 hours, make sure you take your breaks. I know sometimes you want to lock yourself up in some room for 6 hours at a time and just hammer through stuff, but it's just not healthy for your brain. You need to take your breaks. Take a 10-minute every hour, or 15 every hour and a half, or whatever works for you. And that doesn't mean go on your phone, scroll through Instagram, check your emails. That means get up, go get some fresh air, drink some water, clear your head a little bit so that you can rejuvenate your mind and your body and get back into the study mode, which is horrible, and I hate it. I hate studying too, you guys. Like, it's not fun, and I'm not trying to sit here and tell you that it is, because it's not. It's my least favorite part of school. It's just studying, and it's just really boring, and not a fan. But you have to do it. You have to do it if you want to succeed. Keep that GPA up and do well in your classes. Keep in mind, you're paying for these courses. You don't want to fail them. You don't want to just whatever. And a lot of my classes are prerequisites for future classes, so I want to do well and I want to make sure I understand everything. Kind of branching off from that, if you are confused or if you're not solid on a certain concept or topic, approach your professors, approach a friend that's in your class with you. Just take action. Don't just sit there and hope that it'll come to you on the exam. Like, it won't. And the biggest piece of advice I can give you is that you're doing so good. You're pushing through it, whether you're in year 1, year 4, grade 10, you're doing so great, and you're pursuing your education, and you're doing yourself a favor. So be sure to reward yourself when you're done all these exams. Go get some ice cream, I don't know, but you're doing so good, and I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud of me for sticking through it and getting it all done. It's like, it's torture that you have to pay for. Like, it don't make sense to me, but it is what it is. I want you guys to know that I am not a super, like, I do enjoy school, and obviously I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm not like the person that would rather study than go hang out with my child. Like, I don't love it, and I don't like writing papers. It's just, you know, I don't want you to think that I'm always super excited to get myself involved with schoolwork. But it just has to be done, you know. I know I need to pass all these classes and do well. I want a GPA as high as I can possibly get it, because the higher your GPA, the more doors you have open in the future. But with that being said, also there is a lot of degrees where you don't have to have a high GPA. You just kind of have to have a degree to apply for jobs and get them. So it just really depends on what you're doing, but the better you do in school, the more opportunities you have handed to you. So like I said, push through. You are so close. A few weeks and this will all be over. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know, and let me know if you have any sort of study tips or tricks or things that you do to help you prep for exams and tests. I think if we kind of have a conversation down in the comments, it'll be very helpful for us all, really. I'm always trying to take in as much little tips and tricks as possible because I'm no professional. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in today's video. I'm sorry it was a little random and out of the blue, but I do think that it's important that I make it and help you out, even just to inspire you a little bit to push through these last few weeks, because I will definitely need it also. I love you all so much. I wish you the best of luck with your finals and exams and whatever else you got going on, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!